Devin Lloyd might have a zero on the front and back of his jersey, but he has been a hero on the field for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll explain in this episode.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It ain't nothing but the truth. It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, a credential member of the local Jaguars media, and I've covered the team for about 2 decades. So I try to have my finger on the pulse of this team and navigate you through all of the happenings about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm glad that you joined us here. If you're an everydayer, shout out to you. If you're here and you're brand new, we appreciate you joining us here. Also, if you ever have a chance, go and check out the newsletters from Locked On Podcasts at lockedonpodcasts.com/newsletter. Lots of good information in between you trying to catch these episodes, like the one here today that is sponsored and presented to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Let me navigate you to where we're going to start and where we're going to end up. Let's do the end up part first. What we think and what we know. We're 3 games into the season. I like to break the season down into little pieces, right? There's 17 games. 3 doesn't necessarily go in 17 evenly, but let's just say we're about 1/6 of the way through the season. Close enough, right? The Jaguars defense could be special. That's something that we'll discuss in the middle of the show. But at the top, we're going to give props. Props to Devin Lloyd. He is playing great football. And some people wonder what the impact would be with Anthony Campanile, the defensive coordinator, who by trade is a linebackers coach, and Tim Likubu. I hope I said Tim's name right. Tim Likubu, who knows Anthony Campanile very well, has been coaching, has been a coordinator himself at some point, and has been coaching linebackers in the league with a very, very stellar reputation for quite a while. And so far, so good. I'm going to pause real quick and thinking that this is just about a scheme change for Devin Lloyd or about coaches that believe in him and that have competence. And I'm going to give him some credit because so much is always about whether or not, and this is some of the time the disconnect that I have with folks. I usually can pinpoint by watching whether a player is playing well or not. Sometimes those things are his fault. Sometimes it's the coaching. Many times, and most times, it's a combination of two. It's about communication. It ain't necessarily about scheme. And this is the thing that I try to tell folks, my listeners here all the time. Leadership is the ability to not only to lead people to do what you want them to do because it's for the greater good of everybody else, but it's also about extracting things out of them that they themselves don't even know that they're capable of and being able to communicate things a certain way. Now, if you're asking who you ever coached, football-wise, none. But leadership is one of those things that's kind of universal to where just because you're a leader, you can't do everything. But when you do lead, there's certain characteristics that you recognize. And I got to give credit. We always give credit to the people that get the best out of folks. I'm going to give credit to Devin Lloyd for accepting coaching, allowing people to get the best out of him, and then not letting the things from his past hinder him this season. The easy thing to think is, well, it's a contract year. That's why he's playing well. To an NFL player, every year is a contract year, maybe except the year you initially get the money. But I was answering this question about a college football player in the press box the other day, and somebody said maybe the NIL thing kind of changes some guys and they don't play hard. That could be fine and true for, and I'm just giving this as an example, that could be fine and true for dudes that are bent that way, that's how they yoke, that's how they campaign their way through stuff. It's not true for alpha dogs. It's not true for people that are driven. It's not true for guys like that. You could give a guy $100 million and you walk up and challenge him, he'll drop everything right there and square up with you, right, like a boxer, Terrence Crawford. You think no matter how much money he made to fight Canelo, if you walk up to Terrence Crawford, you think he's gonna laugh at you if you square up on him? He might, but he's gonna whoop you too. And see, some people are just built that way. So that's why when they talk about intangibly rich and all of these other things that they say and be nothing more than yourself, some of this stuff has to be self-motivating, right? And I think Devin Lloyd has shown that that's what this is. He didn't hang his head. He didn't get his fifth-year option picked up. Do you think that has stopped him from being one of the 3 or 4 best players on this defense? Absolutely not. And he is. And he has played well. And maybe, just maybe, this team will revisit some of those thoughts about his extension. I know the way he's played as of the first 3 games of this season. I want to see some more of that around here. I don't want that to go anywhere. And he kind of reminds me of that Chenal kid that plays out in KC. It's like he does a lot of things that Alex Anzalone with Detroit. He does a lot of things, man, that really, really makes a team really, really good. And sometimes he doesn't get credit for it. But then there are also times when he does make those huge, big plays like the ones that he's made in the first 3 weeks of this season, where he's making open field tackles, where he's Johnny on the spot, where he gets a guy one-on-one out in the flat and that guy stops right where he makes contact, where he doesn't seem to be confused with guys running across his face. He's getting interceptions. He's batting down balls. He's Johnny on the spot when it comes to picking up fumbles, to causing fumbles. He is really, really, really playing like this menace that everyone envisioned him being. Now, I know everybody wants him to be a pass rusher. They don't need him to do that. He is better than that. He is a good coverage linebacker who plays in space with great athleticism. He's always been built like a Greek god, but he's sort of toned his body up this year. And we got to give props to people when they do things well, because I was a big critic of Devin Lloyd. And I was a critic of how they were using him the first 3 years, like this Swiss Army knife or whatever. Why can't we just find a way to make good football players prosper at the things that they do well, which goes back to, when you think about it, the mantra for what this organization is now. All we need for you to do is be nothing more than who you are, and we'll figure it out. I've said this quote many a times from the great Wade Phillips. If you got a system, you got a good football player that doesn't fit your system, you need to change your system, because every system should be able to find a place for good football players, not only with the physical ability, but to have the capacity to grow, learn, and not be fazed by a little bit of failure. We're giving props here on Locked On Jaguars to Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is the absolute truth so far this year, and if that keeps up, he's going to be a very, very rich man if he isn't already. And I hope it's here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know y'all saying, did Wig just say he wants them to re-sign Devin Lloyd? Yeah, Wig just said he wants them to keep and re-sign Devin Lloyd. All right. The Jags defense could be very special. Fans are already getting ahead of it, saying we're going to lose our defense coordinator. Y'all just pipe down a little bit now, because remember, teams love to hire play callers on offense. Remember that now. So that's going to help you with, this is why y'all didn't want, I'll get into that here in segment 2. I got to get into it, but we're going to talk about the Jags defense and why I think they have some special things brewing. And we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors each. 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar, 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot, and you can take it anywhere and get the boost you need. I'm telling you right now, man, I love me some flavors. They got some pineapple, man. I would love some pineapple. I love me some pineapple or some strawberry, especially when it's going to give me the boost I need sitting in front of this computer all day. I know. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. All right, moving and grooving here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. Always grateful to make you, to make us your first listen and know that you're there every day. We don't take y'all's time for granted. You know that here on Locked On Jaguars. We talked about Devin Lloyd playing great. Now we have to talk about the defense as a whole. I'm one that believes you can't hide when a whole unit is playing well. I know there are lots of folks that have a different philosophy. Like if you got 10 guys that are good, you can have one guy that ain't that good and you can hide him. I'm of the opposite. I think you can hide bad around bad because you don't know where bad is. You don't know where it's coming from. Remember our offensive line the last 5 years? It was bad hiding bad. And all you do is point to the dude that is the biggest transgressor of that ugly play and think that he is the one thing you get rid of. It was Cam Robinson. Remember, we got to get rid of Cam Robinson. Before that, it was Luke Fortner. Remember? No, I think bad hides bad because you think it's one thing and it's more than that. Good exposes bad. When everybody's playing well and one dude is out of step, that's when you can expose it. So that's why I know Devin Lloyd is playing well, because he's playing with a whole bunch of other people that are playing well and he's standing out. But the fact that there's a whole bunch of people playing well and the defense is the sole reason that they're 2-1, in my opinion. And I know the running game and the offensive line deserve some credit. And the team as a whole, you win together, you play complementary football, and guys make plays when they have to. But the reason why these games have been close, mind you, other than the second half against Cincinnati, where they were going against a dude I think they kind of weren't prepared for, and then maybe mentally they kind of shrunk a little bit, but they still should have won that game if the offense does what it's supposed to do and gets down in the red zone and doesn't drop passes. So they're seriously one play away, and it was like 3 or 4 different plays against Cincinnati, but they're one play away from being undefeated. And it's probably the defensive passive interference call combined with some things on offense, but one of those plays will go their way. But the thing is to be in a situation where you don't put it in the hands of the officials and you can determine the outcome. And I think in the 2 games that they won, that's what they did. But I think it's more about the team and the way that they play. If they give up a bad play, they move to the next one. And then they make another play. If it's 3rd and 4, that's not a given anymore. That's not a given. If they need a turnover, if a team is driving, and you saw this against the Texans twice when the Texans crossed the 30-yard line in a 1-score game, on two different occasions, the Jaguars took the ball from them and got the ball back to their team so that they could end the game. That's big time stuff. They're getting pressures. Josh Allen is probably playing as well as he's ever played, including the year where he had 17.5 sacks, and he ain't got 1 sack yet. I think he might have a half a sack. But Trayvon Walker is still doing the things that Trayvon Walker does, plus he's getting sacks. He has 2 on the year so far, maybe 2.5 if they credit him correctly. I can look it up real quick, but it doesn't matter. The point is you get my point. The secondary led by Jordan Lewis, who I talked about yesterday, and Eric Murray, minus the 2 15-yard penalties, and even Tyson Campbell. We had been all over Tyson Campbell, but then Tyson Campbell makes one of the plays of the game the other day. And now Travis Hunter's playing more snaps at corner, and they still have Jarian Jones, who doesn't give up a lot of stuff, and then they're going to get Monteric Brown back into the flow, and Antonio Johnson and Dewey Wingard. All of these dudes are playing well. And Devin Lloyd and Foye Oluokun have played so well together, you've actually seen a little bit less of Ventrell Miller and Yasir Abdullah and guys like that I thought you would see more of. They kind of separated themselves, right, with their play. Even Eric Armstead got involved the other day and got, he was back there again. I think he got another half a sack. And of course, we know he got one against Joe Burrow that pretty much ended Joe Burrow's season for the time being. This defense as a whole is playing very, very well. And it's only going to get better because I think they're going to be film junkies. The schedule is going to get a little bit tougher. I think they got a couple of real good opportunities, especially this week against the 49ers, and we'll discuss that. And the Chiefs offensive line the week after that, even though Patrick Mahomes is dangerous, the Chiefs offensive line has not played that well too. So they're going to get a chance to beat up on some people and cause havoc up front. And then the way that they mix and match it in the back, neither the 49ers and right now either are the Kansas City Chiefs. They're just not good on offense at the receiver position like we're used to seeing them be. So there's a chance that the Jaguars defense over the next 2 weeks could really separate itself a little bit and get a lot of things done. So there's this talk. We're going to lose Coach Camp, man. He's too good. We're going to lose him. I want y'all to remember something. When the Jaguars were talking about when they went into the coaching market, everybody said that they wanted a play caller because that's what it is around the league now, right? I'm thinking that's starting to change a little bit because you're bypassing really, really good coaches who are good candidates to lead their team only because they're not a play caller. I think more than anything else now, we're seeing that even though play calling is important, that is not the sole thing that coaching is, right? You can dial it up all you want to. And this is one of the things I said the other day about Liam Cohen. They're going to have to fix some things when it comes to some of the things that they've been doing on offense because they're getting too many penalties. That's coaching. And it's the details during the week. It's the things that they have to fix pre-snap, the communications, all of those things, looking at the clock, getting the play in on time. These are things that are going to catch up, and they're learning as they go, and they know they have to tighten that up a little bit. That has nothing to do with the play that's called. Other than the fact that whatever they call, they still have to execute it. So that execution is about coaching. Knowing and trusting your players, and on game day, what you're going to see on game day is what they've been rehearsing all week and what they've been installing for months. So when it doesn't play out and when the errors are unforced, coaching really, really does matter. So coaching is more than play calling. And I think people are starting to realize that. So the chances of Coach Camp getting the job are a little bit higher maybe in 2025, 26 than they were, say, in 23, 24, 24, 25, because everyone was going for the play caller. And a lot of those play callers are getting shuffled out now. Some of it happened this year. And I think if you look, when you look at the bad teams, Miami, Tennessee, Cincinnati, even though they beat the Jaguars, and a few other these spots, folks are going to start looking sideways saying, play caller, you know what? You need to get a leader of men in here. And see, that's the danger that you have with Anthony Campanile, because that's exactly what he is. He's a leader of men. He's a great communicator. He's a great teacher. And you see that in a short period of time. Now, the reason why it's not a concern, because if people start poaching your coaches, that means you're doing something right. And if you're doing something right organizationally, that means that your candidates to come into that organization will be strong. I'll give you an example. John Morton up in Detroit. Did y'all see Detroit last night? That looked like the offense that everybody thought that they were going to see, and they've been seeing for the last couple of years, right? That's what you do. When people trust your organization, I recall somebody I was asking about certain coaches years back, and there was a person in Jacksonville saying, if we can get them to come here. Well, see, when you have an organization like the one here that allows Anthony Campanile to come in here and spread his wings the way he has, that tells other coaches that that's what this could be. They could also promote from within. That's why having guys that communicate and speak the same language, this is what good teams do. You can either go out and get somebody else, or that was your second in command, like maybe the defensive backs coach and the pass game coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, Devontae Jones, somebody who was a finalist before that fits the mantra, or you can bring somebody up from within the staff. And I know this seems like the wrong time to be looking that far ahead, but I'm only doing it because people keep saying, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose it. We're 3 games in, y'all. I tell you, I know when you're not going to lose them. You're not going to lose them the rest of the year. So let's just keep focusing on what they're doing and allow this thing to continue to grow, because I don't think that defense is as good as it's going to get. I think it's going to get even better. And they have depth, and everybody's playing together. I absolutely love what I'm seeing from the Jaguars defense. All right, what we think and what we know, some things that we know about the Jaguars and some things that we hope and things that we think we know that we want proof of a little bit more. We'll talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is brought to you and presented by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready to kick off with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. That's right, just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's right. A $5 bet wins your first one, and you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love it, man, because you get a chance to get data. You check in on what's going on. You read up on it on the FanDuel site. So you absolutely have a pathway to make sure you can put some money in your pocket, right? So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, third final segment here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen, and we always appreciate you here. We've talked about Devin Lloyd playing great, and the Jaguars defense as a whole playing great and telling everybody to relax. Anthony Campanile isn't going anywhere anytime soon and all of that stuff. All right, I'll tell you what we know about this team. What we know about this team is they like each other. They respect each other. They play for each other. And I think that is something that is very, very important. They're in tune to their coach. Sometimes a guy can talk so much and it sounds all good. You remember, I'm going to remind y'all of Gus Bradley. It sounded good when it sounded good, didn't it? But when they were losing, boy, it sounded bad, didn't it? And then Doug Peterson, he was laid back and cool, and you thought very measured. And then when they started losing, it seemed like he was too lackadaisical. And even before that, Doug Marrone sounded like a tough guy that you wanted to have the team fighting until he went out there and said, we're just going to throw something against the wall to see what sticks. No, that's not what they're doing. The Jaguars are very intentional now and know exactly where they want to go and how they want to do it. And even though they got the W, they know that there's a lot of things that they need to clean up, and they're holding each other accountable. They're continuing to work. Not one player stood up there and said, and talked about how great they thought they were. They talked about how they stuck together and they kept fighting until guys make plays. They supported each other. And then we still have work to do. This team knows that there are other goals. While they'll enjoy being able to win games that in the past that they lost, and they know that they're that close to being 3-0, they're also that close to being 1-2, and they realize that, right? So the work is never done. Sometimes you don't have to take an L, which a loss or a lesson, in order to move forward. Sometimes you can win and learn lessons. And I think the Jaguars, when you listen to how they're speaking, and then you get the behind the scene access on Jaguars.com, and you hear what they're saying to each other and how they're approaching moving forward. It's about them. It's not about who they're playing. It's not about some histrionics, some superficial motivation. They are trying to be the absolute best version of themselves each and every day. And they believe, just based on the communication and the messaging that I'm getting, they believe that the only thing that can stop them from being as good as they want to be is themselves. And however that has to happen is going to happen. I think they have faith in Trevor. I think Trevor has faith in them. I think the coaching staff has faith and believe in him. I think Trevor changing the call the other day on the big slant pass that he completed to Brian Thomas Jr. speaks volumes. It speaks volumes because it means that he's still confident in himself to make that call and to stand on it. If it doesn't work, he's going to have to go over to the coach, and the coach going to look at him and say, okay, what happened? Not worrying about consequences, but worrying about solutions, worrying about things that's going to help this team win, not worrying that Brian Thomas Jr. had dropped some balls. All right, if I got to stick it right on that number 7, I'm going to stick it right on that number 7. Ain't no problem. That's something that I know Liam Cohen is looking at. Have you ever, this is about parenting for me. Have you ever wanted to see something but didn't say that's what you wanted to see? I'll give you an example. I got I have 3 sons, but these 2 I'm talking about were like peanut butter and jelly. They're like 2 years apart, and they're still very close, right? At one point, one of them got in some trouble. The other brother, the older brother, helped him out of the trouble. I can't remember quite what it was, but they knew about it, and I found out years later. And I told that oldest boy, you need to tell me everything. He didn't. So while he didn't do what I told him to do, he handled it. And he didn't tell on his brother. He helped his brother out. So quietly, it's something that goes back to what my grandma told me and my cousin. If one of y'all come back beat up, the other one's going to get in trouble. Because if either both of y'all get beat up or y'all beat the other person up who did that to him. And while it's not the same old school mentality off of a football field, it is that mentality that I think Liam Cohen is privately happy about. That Trevor trusted a dude that had been dropping passes. And it's almost like if you go back to when they break that huddle and Trevor looks out at that defense and he says, you know what? I think something else is going to work. I need to throw this ball at BT. Later for that, if it don't work, they're going to look at Trevor like, what's wrong with you? And Liam probably didn't want him to change the play. Later for that, he's going to a dude that the fans were booing because he was dropping easy balls for a couple of weeks. And it was the crunch time in the game, right? Doesn't matter. He did it. And I saw Liam Cohen when he was talking about that, and it reminded me of being a parent. That ain't what I told you to do. But the fact that you decided to do it on your own, and the fact not only that it worked, but it was the right thing to do, and then you did it with your brother that everybody was down on at the biggest moment, and he delivered. Man, Liam Cohen had to be so happy and ecstatic about that. It had to be a moment where he said, they get it. They figured it out, and we got something here. So while I sit here and I talk all the time about changing the perception of what Trevor may be and how alpha dogs don't lose confidence and all of that stuff, we may have seen a similar moment for this team on that play, in that circumstance, in that situation, for the reasons I just mentioned. And that might be one of the plays that we harken back on with this team, not only for this year, but if those two guys stay together and they change their trajectory a little bit and change the trajectory of this franchise, that might be a play that we point back to. I'm not overstating. I'm telling you the truth. I'll tell you the truth, too, on another show that I do. It's called Locked On NFL. That show comes on twice a day. Tyler Rowland in the morning. He'll wake you up like a double shot of espresso. And then me, it's the barbershop. You just get it with a national feel with the help of local experts from around the Locked On Podcast Network to help navigate us to all the situations around the league. We appreciate you joining us here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you. We don't take your time for granted. It's about 28 minutes and some change today. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Jaguars.